Happy New Day, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and watching. I've been a little bit constipated, just a little bit, energetically constipated. There has been a lot of things going on in the unseen realms for all of us. And I've been going through a gestation period, one of my cycles. And it's not complete, but my body was guided to do this video because a lot of people, from my understanding and awareness, need this information right about now. I have received a lot of questions, and questions for me are the way to unlock information that I don't even know that I have access to. And in reading a lot of questions, it can be overwhelming for me because information starts coming out that I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that I knew this. And because I'm not a daily YouTuber, vlogger, whatever, I sit with a lot of things and I process a lot of things and I put a lot of pieces together, and it gets overwhelming at times. But a lot of people, including myself, are experiencing psychic and spiritual attacks. And there are some people who are not handling these attacks too well. And it's others who are aware of them and understand them, and they're just kind of like deflecting these attacks. A lot of the attacks are coming from our loved ones, our friends, our family members, people that are close to us. And from my understanding, it's based on the fact that there is a separation taking place. And I remember doing a video a while ago that was titled something like, "There's a separation happening." I haven't watched the video in a couple of years, but I don't know what I said, but I feel that I probably said something in that video that is directly related to some of the things that I'm going to say in this video. But the separation is more evident on the planet, and people have been reaching out asking me how to deal with the frustrations of friends and family members who do not want to join them on their path into higher vibrations and frequencies and all of that. And this is a common question that a lot of people get. And for me, it always boils down to everyone has their own lane. Everyone has their own purpose. And just because someone or certain people may have been in your life since the beginning or for a long period of time, it doesn't mean that they're supposed to be there, for the remainder of your life. And that separation is hard. The longer that a person has been in your reality, the harder it is to separate from them, especially if you're not at that point of just really accepting it and being able to let go. Um, it's not easy. And I started feeling this energy like really heavy a little over a year ago. And in one of my videos, one of the last videos I did in 2015, I spoke about how it would feel to, you know, disconnect from everyone that you know personally. And I got glimpses of that and that feeling. And there's a sadness, and there's also a refreshing brand new energy as well that comes along with it, because who you are now is not who you were 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And the reason that a lot of people are experiencing these psychic and spiritual attacks from those closest to them is because a lot of people cannot handle not having that access to you that they're used to. And for the people who are experiencing this discomfort from these spiritual and psychic attacks, I like to bring a multiple vantage point awareness when it comes to answering questions, because I personally can't be one-sided, because I learned so much about variety and different realities that people are having, that you can't just box it all into one thing. And put into perspective someone who has been in your life for 10 years. And of course, who you were 10 years ago, you're not that person today. But you have set up a pattern with this person or these people for 10 years. And 10 years ago, you didn't know about establishing boundaries. You didn't know where you were going. You didn't have any structure in your life. You didn't have access to, the gifts that you may be using now. You were just somewhere else. So you establish a pattern based on your frequency with these people, and you didn't have any boundaries. So now here it is 10 years later, and you've gained a lot more awareness about who you are, and now you're ready to really tighten up and get some structure and set boundaries and be more organized and take your profession and your gifts more seriously. You're trying to get into these new habits. But the people that have known you, they don't understand any of this. So if they're used to this old pattern and you haven't gently ushered them into the new version of you, and then you just one day say, hey, I can no longer operate with you based on this 10-year pattern that I established, that's very uncomfortable for that person, for that other person, because they don't understand. It's almost like a shock. Just like if there's somebody who's used to being in their neighborhood their whole life, and then they just immediately get teleported to the other side of the world, and it's different people, different food, a whole different environment, their body is going to go into shock, because they didn't have time to slowly merge into the new version, that new environment. So it triggers anger in people. It triggers discomfort. It triggers a sense of loss. And it feels like a death sometimes to people when you have completely changed your reality and you're now eating differently and meditating now and doing all of these things that you didn't do 10 years ago. People, a lot of times, if they're not on that path, they don't want to see that. So there's a way in which mechanically their consciousness is refusing to see that new version of you. So they're blocking it out. So even though you may say, hey, I eat salads now, I no longer eat pork chops, they don't hear that because they have 10 years of you eating pork chops. So when you come to visit, like how you've done for 10 years, they're not really going to cater to your salad eating. They're going to want you to eat pork chops because they don't want you to go away from what they're used to. And if you refuse the pork chops, it's taken as, oh, so what, you think you're better than me now? You think that you're too good to eat pork chops? And that immediately creates a low vibration emotion that in the energetic and spiritual realms is an attack. So you feel it. You know what it feels like when somebody is not pleased with the new version of you. So now you're being talked about in a negative way because you no longer want to identify as that person from 10 years ago that has established this pattern with the people who have been in your life for that period of time. And you would like to take them with you, but you have to understand where they have been while you were upgrading yourself. Where were they? What were they doing? Because if they are still doing the things that they were doing 10 years ago now, but you've changed, you have to be considerate of their lifestyle and that it may be their path to be there. It's not to say that they won't upgrade in this lifetime, but it may not be at the time that you're upgrading, and it's okay. But this is where discernment comes in, because it's going to feel like you're being ripped apart by the past and then the current and future versions that you are moving into. And it doesn't feel good. So I have been experiencing some psychic and spiritual attacks. There have been people from my past and people who I'm currently still connected to who have been showing up in my dreams to really express to me how they feel. And even during the day, I feel it. I feel the attacks, but I'm in a place to where I really understand, and I'm very compassionate when it comes to recognizing, why it's happening, and that it's just a level of hurt and a level of detachment that that doesn't feel good. for them. And it doesn't feel good for me either, but I've surrendered. I've surrendered to life. I've surrendered to my purpose, my lane, my path, my journey. And I'm no longer able to force myself to let my mind guilt me into feeling that I need to put my energy in places that my body is clearly telling me we don't have the energy for that. We can't do that anymore. And it's not easy. It's not. It's not easy. There are people who I haven't been connected to for a long period of time, who are attempting to reconnect, and some of them are doing it because they really want to take things to the next level, and they feel that, maybe what I'm doing will help them. But then there are other people who it's almost like they're trying to see if they can provoke my weaknesses and lure me backwards. And this is why I speak so highly about knowing how to listen to your body, because your mind is going to take you over a lot of different timelines and really find strategies that can mentally convince you that what is happening is not happening, even though your body is telling you, look, it's happening, point blank, period, it's happening. And the mind is like, well, it could be this, and that, and but being able to listen to your inner authority, listening to your body, is really key in dealing with situations like this, because realistically for me, I am closer to the older versions of myself than these newer frequencies that I'm operating out of. I have 27, 28 years of being all over the place, making ridiculous mistakes, doing things that clearly showed I had no awareness, no conscious awareness as to where I was going, what I was supposed to be doing in life. I have a lot more time in life in those lower frequencies than I do in what I've been expressing and displaying on YouTube and in my life these last few years. So realistically, I am closer to that darker version of me, those darker versions of me. And there's always a helping hand. There's always multiple helping hands that are waiting for you to turn around and go back. If you're moving forward in life and you stop and say, let me just turn around and see where I came from. There's nothing wrong with reflecting. But if you turn around and see where you came from, it's so many hands that are like, it's like a million of them. They're waiting. And you see all of those hands and you start having all of these memories about the things you used to do, all of the good times, the bad times, those carefree times to where there was no thoughts about the spiritual realms and, all of this other stuff that you've learned on your journey. And it can be tempting at times. It can be tempting because you're like, I remember when I didn't have to think about, spiritual protection, and, I didn't have all of this information about stuff that I didn't learn in school. I wonder, would it have been better if I would have just stayed asleep? You start thinking about stuff like that. If you turn around for too long and you look at all of those hands that's waiting. But I'm at the point of no return. I've kind of been there, but I know that if I was to go backwards, I might as well just quickly commit suicide. And that's real talk. Because just the thought of going back, it sends a very ugly feeling through my body. And I have to operate in my integrity. I have to stand in my truth. And I have to continue to understand that everything has its place, including spiritual psychic attacks. And that I have all the tools that I need. And there will be more to come as long as I continue to listen to and follow that divine guidance. So for those that are looking for assistance in these areas, it takes time. Some it's more quickly than others, but it takes time to disconnect from people. And when you don't make yourself available like how you used to, you have to understand that it's going to upset people if they're used to having access to you. It's just like a baby. If a baby is used to having access to their mother all the time, and then the mother just disappears, that baby is going to have a fit. The baby isn't going to understand, and sometimes you have to look at the impact that you've had on people. And that's been one of my blind spots, is really not understanding the impact that I've had on people. And I'm learning. That's something that, like, I'm really taking baby steps into really understanding how to be more aware of the way in which I interact with people. Because even recently I've connected with new people, and they have somehow put me in the category of being responsible for their full growth and development. And I always have to check myself and say, wow, what What did I say to make them think this? Or most importantly, what didn't I say? What boundary didn't I set? I went from thinking that I was being very thorough in how I was interacting with you and expressing what I'm here for, how I assist others, and even still you can get blindsided because you may be saying one thing, but you don't always know how that other person is receiving it. You don't know if they're taking it in and formulating a completely different reality than what you are actually saying to them. And then next thing you know, somehow you have become someone's guardian in their reality. And you never asked for that responsibility, and you definitely didn't intend on making anybody think that you wanted that responsibility. And then, of course, when you try to clear it up, that other person is not really happy with you. And then we get more spiritual, psychic, verbal attacks. And it just comes with the territory, because when you put yourself out to help people and you make yourself available, it's not always going to be just happy success stories. There are going to be people that feel worse after engaging with you because they may have mentally thought that they wanted what you had to offer, but once you give it to them, their body wasn't really ready for it. And that's another way that you can shock and trigger people, because you've now introduced them to something that they may have told you that they were ready for, and they realize that they just really can't reach it. But now that they're aware of it, it really messes with their current reality. Their current reality is nowhere near what you have introduced to them. So because you are the messenger, you are the one that introduced them to that information, you are now responsible for their downfall, because they can't stay with that information unless you are there all the time. And me, I'm a trial and error person. I have to learn from my mistakes. And it's a never-ending process for me. So even though I may come on YouTube and spread a positive, high vibrational message, it upsets people. And people let me know that they're upset about my messages. I haven't gotten any like hate mail or anything like that, but I get it psychically. And from people that don't even know that they are attacking me or attempting to attack me psychically. People that communicate with me on a regular basis, but I'm aware that they're, behind the surface, they're not very happy with me. And I still have to maintain my position. I still have to hold my vibration and just let those things bounce off of me. And I really don't even take it personally. I really don't, because I get it. And that's really why I'm doing this video for others, because a lot of you all are taking it personally. A lot of you all are allowing those attacks to injure you and divert you off your course. And when you focus on trying to defend yourself or feeling bad, that's the goal of the attacks. And you also have to remember that a lot of our friends and loved ones, they are not by themselves when it comes to the entities that are moving them. A lot of our closest people have some major energetic entities that are not for their best and highest good working with them, and a lot of times being in full control of them. So yes, it may be, your best friend or your husband or your wife or your mother or your father. Yes, it may be their shell, their vehicle, their body. But it's important that you don't get thrown off course and allow those entities that are attached to them to have openings into your energy field. Because as soon as you respond to those attacks in a way that are on the same level as the attacks, that's the opening. That's the doorway for you to get those attachments and get those entities to feed off of you. Because remember, these lower vibrational entities that are plaguing a lot of our friends and family, they're okay with those friends and families. But if you're somebody that has more life force running through you, if you have more energy, more awareness, more consciousness, you're a juicier steak. It is what it is. And they may have been operating with, our friends and family for a long time, and they might be like, hey, kind of tired of this vessel, but I still need a place to live and operate, so I'm just here. But I would love to get into that vessel over there. I would love to get into that mansion, that castle, because that's what you look like to them. You look like a brand new, gated community to them. They would love to live there. They don't want to live in the projects anymore. That's how they're living with the people that they've been attached to for long periods of time. So take all of this into consideration and understand that things happen. Just like something happened to you, multiple things happen to you in your journey to expanding and raising your vibration. Things happen to other people to where they drop in their vibration. So 10 years ago, like how you're not the same person, they're not the same person. They could actually be worse. So take into consideration what has gone on in that overall time period, so that you don't get too soft and allow those openings. You don't allow that guilt to take over you, or that anger, or that frustration, or feeling like you need to defend yourself, or even just taking it personally, period. You can't take these attacks personally, because if you're being spiritually and psychically attacked, it's not just the person that's doing it. There's multiple entities that are in cahoots with making these attacks happen. So that's pretty much what I wanted to express on this topic. And this is a very good time period as well for these things to take place. And when I did my video speaking on the activations from October 30th through December 24th, it's now December 11th, and this is, it's like crunch time. It's crunch time for a lot of things to be done energetically and psychically in the lower realms while we have these activations. So we are approaching Christmas, you know, this whole holiday season is just the perfect setup for us to be dealing with the past, dealing with our friends and our family from the past, dealing with traditions and old ways of thinking and memories and all of these things. It's the perfect setup for attacks. So this is something to keep in mind, because we're entering into 2017, which is a 1 year. If you add up 2017, it adds to 10, which is 1. So 2017 is going to have a lot of let's get it started type energy. So this year is like a closing out type energy. So we're at the closing stages of 2016 in a year that's a 9, that's closing out. It's bringing everything to an end. So whatever can get in and latch on before we go into this new beginning type energy for this next year, it's going to it's going to put forth some effort to make that happen. These entities are, you know, they're not stupid. They're very intelligent. They're going to use these programs that have been operating for many years and generations as ways to trigger what's inside of us and to make us look back, where all of those hands are like, hey, you can always come back. So listen to your body. Feel your body clench up. That's a no. When your body clenches up, it's a no. It's a don't do it. And if you are on a path to a higher awareness, that's what your body is more than likely going to do. It's going to clench up. Don't fight it. Don't go against it. Because if you do that, you're going to feel even worse when you go backwards during this time, when we need to be clearing things out, disconnecting, detaching, letting things go, and opening up our energies for this new energy that is coming in very quickly. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and if I have more to share, I will. But thank you all for tuning in and watching for your mind to shine. Until next time.